Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan. Rob have a full house tonight and a new guy in the process, new to you guys, but not new to me. His name is Rob Baraska. Rob, why don't you give everybody an introduction about where you're at? What are you doing?
Yep, I'm in New York. How you doing, guys? And Candy. I'm co-host of NYMLB Talk. It's basically a Mets Yankee show. I'm the Mets guy, but we cover everything, all of MLB. Plus, we do other crazy things on the show, like have different guests. We had magicians on a couple of weeks ago. We mix it up, and so far we're getting pretty big, which is great. And I appreciate it, Scott,
You're welcome.
having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're going to be on this show plenty of it. I know you're a Mets guy. I have a Mets manager on here. So
Yeah.
you can rest assured, Cyberuski, glad you're in here. So we have a lot to get to. Let me introduce the rest of the crew. We have Candy on here. And obviously, Willie Epting is going to, we appreciate that. We're going to actually, that's actually a topic that would city should be the next get an MLB team. So glad to have Candy on. Glad to have you on as well, Willie. And we have Trent Clark. Welcome back, Trent.
What's up, gang?
And we have the Catsy Man.
Good to be back,
And,
Scott.
and we have the skipper. Oh, great stuff. Okay. With that said, I want to get to I have a couple things I want to get to right away, and that's this. Okay. First of all, Jose Alvarado who was suspended 80 games without pay after testing positive for a generous testosterone, actually is set to return in about 2 weeks. You think he'll be a viable weapon down the stretch, Skip? Skip? All right, well, we'll come back to him. Eric?
Absolutely. I mean, the more arms, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
What's that, Skip? Mickey?
Yeah, I think with Alvarado, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
All right.
Merrier, right? I think that he's proven he's a pretty good arm in the past, and it really comes down to how he's been preparing to come off his suspension.
So he's about 2 weeks out. So I imagine, like anything else, they had a really great trade deadline, adding a closer, Johan Duran. But this guy here, I hear, was a pretty lethal pitcher before obviously trouble creeped up on him. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, he was, right? I got to see him pitch live quite a few times, and he was really nasty. I guess the question is, was it a byproduct of some of the things he was doing, or was it really natural, and then he just got caught up in the wrong situation? So I think time will tell, but either way, I think it's a good option for a team to have late in the season.
All right, we'll turn over to Eric.
I mean, you need arms at this point in the season. The more healthier arms you have, the better, because these days bullpens are getting burned like forest up in Canada, and it's something that it's something that you need. I mean, Jose Alvarado, he's a hard thrower. I mean, the Phillies are going to need this guy down the stretch, especially to give someone like Duran maybe a breather. And because Alvarado does have some closing experience, and they're going to need him because obviously Alvarado won't be eligible for the postseason, and so that's where Duran comes in. But if you can get Alvarado out there now to maybe take some of the innings away from guys like Duran or Orion Kerkering or whomever else, that'll put the Phillies in great shape.
Okay, turn over to Rob.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, he's a fresh arm. He was throwing great before he got suspended. And listen, he's the reason why the Phillies probably have Duran, right? So that's another weapon that they have. So by subtraction, the Phillies actually get Duran, and that trade might not have happened if Alvarado didn't get suspended. So he's a fresh arm, and I think that's a great thing.
Candy?
Anytime you get a fresh arm
this late in the season that's a good pitcher. I mean, it can only bolster what they already have. So, kudos to them. Watch out.
Clark, you got the final word.
Yeah, I think it's back to is the extracurricular activity tied to his confidence, right? If he comes in and starts giving up the house and having challenges to get people out, that's not going to help things. He's got to come out, be ready to go, as kind of Mickey talked about, like how well he's done in his time off to come in and hit the ground running. He should be a fresh arm. A lot of it's about recovery, and with such a short season left for an arm coming in, he should be great. So as long as he's going in and getting people out, it's going to be a huge lift for the Phillies.
Yeah, I think this is as good as a trade deadline deal. I like the timing of it for sure. They bolstered their bullpen at the trade deadline. You get them. Yes, he can't play in the postseason, but he can certainly get you to the postseason. Candy, please put that comment up by Willie Epting Jr., because that's where I'm going with this next one anyways, okay? Which city should be the next to get a team in MLB? Well, I'll tell you what, MLB believes that Nashville, Salt Lake City are the strongest expansion markets. Orlando has secured enough money to build a ballpark. So with that said, Trent, who do you think is the best candidate to get an expansion team?
I think they should get one back in Southside Chicago, and maybe they should get a team back. Oh no, that's right, the White Sox are there. So like, if you're talking about a major league team and not a AAA team,
yeah, right.
I think that Nashville, it would be a great spot, right? I mean, it's a booming town. It's just doing so well. It also brings another central team to the middle of the country, and I think that would really matter. It's probably still a few of those Braves fans, but at the end of the day, I think Nashville would be a great fit.
Candy?
Nashville already has a minor league team. They have the Nashville Sounds. That's what farm league for the Milwaukee Brewers. We've been there. It's a great little park. They're a great sports town. They're up and coming. As much as I'd hate to see, because I don't think they'd support a major and a minor league team, but I could totally see that market supporting an MLB team. So,
Skip, what do you think?
Well, I think Nashville definitely has the population and the money to support a major league team. I will say, as a visitor going there for AAA baseball, there was not very many fans at the games. It was very unimpressive the way they kind of embraced the AAA team at that time. Salt Lake City, I got to play in for quite a bit, and I really liked it there. But again, the challenge is how many fans are going to come to the game. So if I had to choose between the two, I would probably say Nashville, just because of the money and the population, and then kind of go from there and see what you get. It's a toss-up anytime you try to start a new team anywhere.
So you're committing to Nashville, but you're not committing to these other choices, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Okay, I like that. That's a pretty interesting answer. All right, Clarky, go ahead.
As a young coach of a nice gun, little young guy coming up named Mickey Callaway out in Salt Lake City, it's not a pitcher's area, right? This is at altitude, man. The ball does fly at Salt Lake City. So you're going to go in and see these Salt Lake games. If that happens, which is obviously a AAA facility, and it's a beautiful park, Mick, I think you can agree to that. And
Absolutely.
That town can probably support it. But, I mean, you're going to have games that are going to be like 16-12, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it'd be tough to have another Colorado in the league. It's everybody's worst nightmare to go into Colorado and have to play already. You just dread it because your ERA is going to take a hit. The whole team is going to, be swinging for the fences, and it'd be tough to have another place like Colorado in the mix.
That's an interesting point by all of you. Let's go to the chat room. And let's go to Cliff Neal. He's going to be on Wednesday night anyways talking NHL expansion. But this guy, when it comes to expansion, he's definitely coming on. Nashville and Charlotte. There was a time when I thought Charlotte was a serious candidate, but I haven't seen any movement whatsoever with a stadium. So that doesn't lead me to believe that Charlotte's a serious candidate. But yes, there was a time when I actually had a guy who was a commentator from Charlotte who talked about it. But no, I don't think about Charlotte at all. But I understand the logic that Charlotte's a 4-hour drive from Atlanta, so you have a built-in rivalry off I-85 there. Cliff, makes sense. Get me a stadium, different story. Then we'll talk about Mr. Foodman here, Joshua Dorr. A little bit of lighthearted kidding for the Catsy man. Okay, there's a rumor going around here, Cats. I hear a ball you go to a ball game and doesn't even eat a hot dog. I don't know whether you're making this up or whether you're delusional, but I'll let Eric answer this one. No, it probably doesn't eat the bratwurst.
Well, I don't. I'm not sure if Joshua Dorr knows all about food in Wisconsin, but we also have bratwurst here too, and
Right, okay.
that's significantly more filling than a hot dog. So I suggest you do your research, Mr. Dorr, and don't let your last name hit you on the way in either.
Oh, look at that. I love it. The Catsy man. All right. Well, what about Utah and New York MLB? I have a feeling that's your other tag team partner chiming in, right? Rob? Or is that you? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's him.
There's a great chance they get one. Yeah. So who have I called on so far?
You have not called me.
Go ahead. I'm calling on you now.
Okay, well, first off, I love Nashville. I mean, I've been there. I actually almost moved there a few years ago. I love Nashville. I mean, they've been trying for a while now. They're trying to get a expansion team. It goes back to as far back as 1993 when Major League Baseball decided to make the mistake of giving a team down to Miami. It's to be true, they embrace that AAA team, man. They really do. And I don't see the AAA team going anywhere. I mean, sure, it will dip into their crowds, but they've shown that they love the team. There are plenty of cities that have great minor league teams that draw well despite playing in a major market. Take the Kane County Cougars, for example, in Illinois, just outside of Chicago. They're competing with the Cubs and the White Sox, yet here we are. They're still drawing well. Plus, there's an abundance of minor league baseball teams all over the Chicago suburbs. So I promise you they will be just fine. They know that their crowds are going to take a hit, but hey, they're equally supportive of bringing Major League Baseball to Nashville. As far as Utah goes, I don't want it there for a variety of reasons. I just feel like it'd be a Coors Field Part 2. I feel like the Rockies, they got despite being as bad as they are, they got that area kind of like stacked. And third of all, who wants to have a Major League Baseball team in a city where the bar hours are limited? Not me. And it's just I don't like the idea. I never have. If anything, though, I'd want to see Charlotte get a team before they do. Although I see someone moving to Charlotte. And the thing about Nashville too is there's a bunch of area in Nashville that no Major League Baseball team can claim based on territorial rights. Yeah, you got the Braves, the outlier teams like the Braves here and there on parts of the state in terms of like, what you're able to claim as your market. But there's a lot of Nashville and Tennessee in general cannot be claimed by other teams, So like you have an untapped market there where you can easily create new fans and actually grow the game, something Rob Manfred says he wants to do, but apparently keeps on falling on his face every time he says it.
So who haven't I called on yet? Candy, have you gotten your word in on this?
Yep, I got my word on it.
All right, so here's Rob. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I go with Nashville too. A lot of people from New York City are leaving for Nashville. It's starting to populate there, and why not have a major league ballpark there, a team there? They have everything else there, right? So I think Nashville can support it, and I think it should be Nashville. Utah, like everyone else said, it's going to be another Colorado situation. Pitchers' ERAs are going to be way up there. I don't see Utah at all, but I go with Nashville.
Well, so from what I'm hearing, Utah's a little further along, though, with their ballpark situation, and that's why they're being looked at as highly as they are. But I'll throw one out there that nobody's talked about, and that's this. Nashville, I definitely believe, should get one. Charlotte, I thought for a while, but they haven't done anything to impress me. But I'll put this one out there. How about Portland, Oregon?
No.
Portland, Oregon would be interesting if you get a dome out there. It really would. Then all you basically have is what? You got the Trailblazers, and then you have the baseball team. And once upon a time in the NBA, Portland and Seattle had a great rivalry. So I'm just going to throw Portland into that arena and see what happens. What do you think about that, everybody?
It won't happen because number one, you're going to have to get that past the Giants and the Mariners who can lay claim to the state of Oregon, and also to an extent the whatever you call the Athletics these days, the temporary Sacramento Athletics, the Vegas Athletics, whatever. They're going to lay claim to that territory too, because even when they move to Vegas, I believe they'll have a share of Oregon. So you're gonna have people fighting over that puzzle. And trust me, Oregon, just baseball wise, I don't think they're really that impressive, to be truthful. It'd be a Tampa Bay Rays 2.0.
Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting now to see how it plays out. Right now, the leading candidates, or what my sources are telling me, even though nobody wants it to happen, are Utah and Nashville. Once again, I think Charlotte should have been more proactive where they're at, but we haven't been able to see any of that simply take place at all. So we're off to a great start. I'll go back to Joshua Door. I'm sure I probably would. I did hear from the guy the other day, so you might want to add him to your friendly group chat, and I'll explain off camera another time. I had to put it in there. It doesn't make any difference, okay? And we're not getting into the. I think you're far enough on the food, Josh. I'm cutting you off right there. So as we continue on here at the broadcast here, we're about 16 minutes into it. Former MLB pitcher Dan Serafini was convicted of murdering his father-in-law in a $1.3 million feud. Oh my goodness, this is not a good look. Rob, what are your thoughts about the former major leaguer getting into a heap of trouble?
Yeah, well, he got in a heap of trouble because he doesn't know how to manage his money, right? He made a lot of money for a very, very, mediocre pitcher. That's for sure. I can't even believe how much he made when I looked at it. He owned a bar that went under. He was on that show, Bar Rescue. So it's all about the money. I just think he should be locked up without parole for life, killing his father-in-law and his mother-in-law, basically. She didn't die from what he did, but she committed suicide a year later because of this. So I think it's disgusting. The guy did not know how to handle his money, and he killed his in-laws. He should just be done for the rest of his life.
Eric?
Honestly, I actually saw the episode of Bar Rescue with him actually on it. That's how it took me a minute to recognize the name. To be truthful, I always thought the guy was stupid on TV, and he was definitely not the brightest bulb in the box. But this is just a capper of stupidity. The guy didn't know how to deal with his money. He messed around with the wrong people. His bar went under, so he clearly made a bad investment there. Apparently, and gosh. How stupid can you be? I mean, you were dumb, but now you've somehow found a new level of stupid, and now there won't be anything for you besides the cold floor of a jail cell.
Yeah, Candy.
It's sad to see people that make so much money not have somebody to help them manage that money. I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're not a money person, you should talk to people that can help you with money. There's lots of people out there that can help people with money. Now, to do what he did after that's horrific. Like murdering anybody, if you watched any of the news lately, there was actually a jail that the roof blew off with the weather. I mean, the weather's been so bad, but they should put him in a spot and throw away the key. I believe that a bunch of these murderers should just be put in one prison all together. Let them fight themselves. If they want to murder each other, go right ahead. Throw away the key, lock them up.
Trent?
And I don't really want to be paying for you to live out the rest of your life someplace either. So I really have a hard time with that.
Trent?
Yeah, for me, tragic, right? We see these folks, and listen, there's going to be bad actors in every industry, and this isn't any different. And his career kind of shows that. He spent 3 years with the Twins, and then it was just bouncing from team to team, looking to get an opportunity. He made a little money. I don't know what happened with the whole money issue. It sounded like that was a big part of the feud, but it's also a mistress involved. I mean, the whole thing just smells of just a train off the rails, and it's a train wreck. And this is what happens when we don't put checks and balances in place in people's lives, and we look the other way on bad actors. And I'm sure no one wakes up and decides this is a good idea like one day. There are a bunch of steps and there's a bunch of things that people, I think, probably ignored in this guy's behavior along the way. And someone didn't tighten this kid up, and it's too bad. He's not a kid anymore. He's 51 years old. Like he's not a young man. So it's horrific, sad, and I'm with Candy on this. I don't want my tax dollars to go towards people like this to keep them around with the risk of coming back in and trying to mix into society with this kind of behavior.
I'll wait for Mickey to get back on, but since you weren't on last week anyways, Trent, and I'll even propose this one to you, Rob. Do you think Sammy Sosa should be in the Hall of Fame, Trent?
Man, golly, it's a tough call. Like, first of all, on merit alone, on his ability, on his numbers, of course, his numbers show that he should be. I don't know where Sammy Sosa is on the admission of guilt, if charged with being guilty of enhancement, steroids. I don't know where that legally is on that. So suspected for sure, but I don't know if there's actually a legal. And I mean, last time I looked in this country, it's still innocent until proven guilty. So I don't know how you do it. But on the merit of his talents and what he did on the field, I would say yes.
All right, Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree, especially since, MLB knew something was going on, but they loved Sosa and McGuire that season, right? They are at fault too, because they did nothing about it when that was happening. They loved the ratings. They loved what was going on. And then boom, after all of that, then all this other stuff started. So by his merit and everything, by his record, and the steroid guys, a lot of them deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because Major League Baseball knew what was going on and they let it happen, especially with McGuire and Sosa and the home run race that year.
Okay, all right, Mickey's back. Just in time for this topic. You'll the last word on it. Former MLB pitcher Dan Serafini was convicted of murdering his father-in-law in a $1.3 million feud. Where are you at with this one?
I played with Dan with the Anaheim Angels back in the day, and it's just unfortunate. I don't even really know what to think about it. I heard that he had this issue a few years ago, and I guess the conviction has come down, and it's just sad for everybody involved.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's talk about some possible Hall of Famers. Now, first of all, I want to go over to Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones, first of all, a 5-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove winner, will manage Team Netherlands in the WBC. So, first of all, let's talk about the fact that, what are your thoughts about him managing in the Netherlands, Skip?
Yeah, I love this idea that he's doing this. Obviously a great player. I think worthy of the Hall of Fame. I'm sure he's going to drop a lot of knowledge on these Netherlands players, and it's got to be exciting for them to be around someone as reputable as him. So I love that he's going to manage the team. Brings a little excitement to the Netherlands there, and to me, he's worthy of the Hall of Fame. I'm always for as many people in the Hall of Fame as possible if they've dominated the way he did for that 7-year or 10-year stretch. So I'm all for it. I love it.
Also, his numbers, by the way, are 254, 1,933 hits with 434 home runs, 1,289 RBIs, and 1,204 runs. So you like it, don't you, Skip?
I do. I like it a lot. I think that he was one of the best center fielders there was in that 10-year span.
Okay. All right, Eric, your thoughts about Andrew Jones?
I mean, good for him for managing. I remember Andrew Jones when I was growing up. They called the Braves lineup for the longest time, keeping up with the Joneses with him and Chipper. But it's great to see he's still staying involved in the game. But here's the thing, though: the first part of his career was great with the Atlanta Braves. However, it's the second half of his career where he just where he just fell right off. He signed that big long deal with the Dodgers to the point where it was, I think it was Frank McCourt at the time, who we found out later was broker than broke. He ends up eating all that money because he didn't even want Andrew Jones around. Although he became a serviceable player with a few different teams like later on as a part-time player. But here's the thing: they're electing him off peak, which don't get me wrong, his peak is great, but he had a very similar career to Don Mattingly. It was a great first part where you're up here and then you fall right back down. That's my only problem with it. And I will say though that if there's any, I don't think Andrew Jones was the best center fielder during that time. Yes, he has 10 Gold Gloves, but if anything, I would put Bernie Williams over him. And
Okay.
it's just like to me great player, but we're only measuring him off peak though. I mean, if you put him in, you got to put Mattingly in there.
Okay. All right, Rob.
I think Andrew Jones is right on that line for the Hall of Fame. It could go either way. Listen, he being a Met fan during those years with him and Chipper killing the Mets, he was just amazing. But like Eric said, the first half of his career was great, but by the time he finished with the Yankees, he was down. But 10-time Gold Glove winner, right? 7-time All-Star, and those great Braves teams, and the 434 home runs. Most of this stuff before he's 30. If I had to, if someone had a gun to my head, I'd say yes, I'd put him in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Well, there you go. Candy, what are your thoughts?
Anytime you start drawing comparisons to Willie Mays and was considered one of the top center fielders in baseball, how do you not? Like, if you're going to put his name in with such an iconic and well-known baseball player that's already in the hall, you almost have to. But I agree, like Eric, if you're going to put him in, there's a number of them that I think are right on that borderline that if you're going to put him in, you got to put some of the other ones in. But I think kudos to him for giving back to the game and coaching up in the Netherlands. It's a beautiful part of the country. We were just there.
What about you, Clarky?
Yeah, one, I would love to know how many people actually have 10 Gold Gloves. I mean, like, that's crazy, right? Like, I don't think there's a ton of people who actually have 10 plus. Well, it points to the longevity in the league. It points to his ability in a highly skilled position, which is usually basically speed based as well. So it's a matter of him staying up in the game a long time. I love Candy's reference and the fact that he was compared to Mays, which is crazy. So I not only do I think he is on that edge of the Hall of Fame, which I would push him in because of the defense more than anything,
Right.
and being part of a winning team. The guy was a winner, and I think the other side of this is that I love him getting into the game. I see in the World Baseball Classic with Yadier, Andrew Jones, Dusty Baker, they're really starting to add some firepower and names to these. And I think it's great for these guys to go back and give into these countries that baseball's not a thing right now. The NFL's done this better than anybody about getting other countries involved in NFL. This could be a great way for baseball to bring it to a world sport, not just Asian and North America, Central America.
Trent, wait, I want to quick say, in reference to your question, there are 15 non-pitcher MLB players who have won at least 10 Gold Glove awards. There were 2 that won 12, Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente, 11 Gold Gloves, and 10 was Heath Hernandez, and then 10 Gold Gloves. There's a whole list of them. But that's
but you said only 15 total,
only 15.
Ever,
yes.
ever.
Yes,
like it's just 109 years, right? Like, I mean, how many years have we been doing this? Like, it's crazy. So
forever.
Like, yeah. So like, it's been a long time. I mean, it's a staggering stat, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Candy. Good stuff.
So who haven't I called on yet? Me? Here's the thing. Borderline. 434. I like the number. I really do. The other numbers, the 10-time Gold Glove, I like them. 1,933 hits. Last time I saw a Hall of Fame guy get in, you need at least 2,500 to 3,000 to at least get near that number.
That's low. That's low.
Yeah, that's a little bit low. Average 254. Sorry, doesn't really cut it. He's borderline. I'm actually going to say no. But I have some good advice to you, Mr. Jones. If you're in the Netherlands, buy yourself a good bike because you're going to be biking to work because everybody else does too. I actually have a hat with a bike and I have a shirt with a bike, and I got news for you, all from the Netherlands. Yes, I had to make sure I got some bicycle attire from the Netherlands, even though I'm too big to get on one of these darn things. So I'm going to say no. Sorry, but take up biking. It's a good thing. They all do. Everybody's thick skin. And one of my first interviews on there was a tour guide, had some very interesting information. And I encourage you, if you want to hear a little bit about some of the things I learned, I would go to the professor and the pupil because I don't want to put this on a family show tonight. And I guarantee you, that's a little teaser. All right, well, we'll stay in the World Baseball Classic. Now that we got Skip at a good spot, we'll be able to get to some of the other topics we'll be holding out on. Good stuff. Want to make sure our manager got home safe. But Dusty Baker could stay out of the managing rank because he could be managing Team Nicaragua in the 2026 World Baseball Classic, Mr. Manager. What do you thought about Dusty getting back in the dugout?
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the best managers of all time. You know, I talked to tons of guys that I had been around that had Dusty as a manager, and he's one of the best player managers you could ever ask for. So for him to have his influence around those Nicaraguan players and to just bring a wealth of knowledge to, a country that's really trying to get up and coming. I mean, I would love to see more Nicaraguan players in the big leagues. So for him to take time out and go over there and really help these guys out, hopefully it brings some excitement, and then they can really start their professional leagues and build upon them so we can get some more guys in the big leagues from Nicaragua. I love it.
Beautiful. All right, Catsy, what do you think about Dusty?
I mean, who else would you want? Guys are great. Guys great with the people, for first and foremost. I mean, he managed to. The great thing about him was he's managed all sorts of personalities, including Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and the like. And can't get much better than that, having to deal with two superstars like that. And he's won everywhere he's gone. He won in San Francisco. Chicago was a shorter stay though, but he took them to the NLCS. And came within an Alex Gonzalez. Yes, I said Alex Gonzalez, and Alex Gonzalez botched double play away from taking the Cubs to the World Series, and it might have been him, lifting the World Series trophy, not Joe Madden. Also, he took the Nationals to the playoffs and made them a winner, and then he also helped the Reds, which the Reds haven't won since he's been gone. And now obviously he won his ring with Houston after a long absence, but I knew Dusty wouldn't. I knew Dusty, it wouldn't be long before Dusty came back. I was almost counting on it because I've seen Dusty do this before, where he goes and chills and says, "I'm done," and next thing you know, I'm bored. I need to go manage. And he's gonna have Nicaragua at the very least be playing very competitive in the WBC, and I would not sleep on them, especially with Dusty Baker in there, because he gives every team he's ever managed a chance every night.
Rob.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love to see Dusty Baker coming back. Listen, the guy has the 7 most wins of managers in Major League history, all right? 26 years managing and 2,183 wins. And he took 5 teams to the postseason, all right? 5 different teams. Only guy who did it. I love it, and I can't wait to see him manage in the World Baseball Classic.
Candy?
I love it too. I think it's a great move. I mean, he's had such a great career and great job coaching. Why not? I mean, kudos to him and kudos for them for getting him.
Clark?
Well, listen, if Dusty Baker proves himself as a manager, he takes Team Nicaragua to the World Baseball Classic Finals. Like, he's going to prove that he's got his merit, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
And by the way, a guy I coached, you better have Dennis Martinez, Mr. Nicaragua, as his pitching guy, right? Like, Dennis Martinez was one of Nicaragua's best ever, and And I mean, that guy is loves his country. He always promotes it. And I don't know, as a righty, he might lead pickoffs of all time as a right-handed pitcher. Guy could snap guys off the bases and bring some of the best off first base and second. Had a great move. So yeah, Dennis Martinez is a great guy, and I think like it'd be interesting to see who Dusty takes with him to really build up that Nicaragua program. Obviously, he's going to have a massive influence, but I agree with you, Motor City, that man, it's just great for that country to see that and have an icon like that leading them.
Oh God, I'll tell you one thing: these kids got to be thrilled. I mean, all these guys. You're talking about a guy that's played the game, managed at a high level, and all of a sudden you get to learn from him. You're talking about learning from the foundation. This guy, he's iconic. One of the things I had frustrated about covering some major league players is they never knew the history of the game. But I'll tell you one thing: these kids are going to get to know the history of it with Dusty pretty well, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes. So yeah, I'm glad he's actually back in it. And it's good to see a lot of different players use the World Baseball Classic as a way to manage. And we have one more World Baseball Classic to talk about as I segue into it, because Yadier Molina has been named Team Puerto Rico's manager for the 2026 World Baseball Classic. And guess who he's taking with him on his coaching staff? Edgar Martinez and Juan, I don't want to play in Comerica Park, Gonzalez is joining his staff. Comerica Park, people, back when it was a big park, scared Juan Gonzalez out of there. But anyways, you got Yadier, you got Juan, you got Edgar Martinez. And you know what? I worked with Juan Gonzalez of the 1987 Gastonia Rangers. And this guy, all he was doing when he was a young pup was taking laundry baskets and throwing them inside the hotel room because he was mad. But that's that. So, Skip, what are your thoughts about Yadier Molina taking the job at Puerto Rico, and then his good buddies Edgar Martinez and Juan Gonzalez get to join him?
Yeah, I mean, what a staff right there. I mean, that's three guys that played at the top level that you could possibly get. But I would think that every Puerto Rican guy is going to be, foaming at the mouth to get on this team, to be around those three guys. And I think Yadi Molina obviously is one of the best catchers that ever was. And I think you're going to see him managing in the big leagues, more than likely the St. Louis Cardinals at some point. So this is probably his little segue into getting a little bit of experience so he can go do the dream job that he wants, and I'm sure is managing the St. Louis Cardinals. So this is awesome.
Great point. All right, Catsy.
Well, Albert Pujols was like a word too, because he's actually rumored to be after that job as well, and actually a proven winner a guy who's proven he can do it is Skip Schumacher, which that's who Cardinal fans want, given the success he had in a short time in Miami. But Yadier Molina has always been rumored to be like on a coaching staff or managing. I know it's been talked about. I know St. Louis has kind of broached the idea of bringing him back in some sort of capacity. But it's great that he's doing it because, gosh, Puerto Rico is a very good baseball country. You can probably count if he stays healthy, Carlos Correa being on that team, and so he's got a nice middle of the lineup bat to work with, and I think they're going to be competitive. I mean, they got a guy who's done it at a high level, who in my eyes was the greatest catcher of my era. I mean, best defensive catcher of like 2000s, 2010s, you name it.
All right, Rob.
Yeah, I like it. Definitely. That's good for Puerto Rico. And yeah, one of the best defensive catchers in the history of the game. Offense wasn't that great, but defensively, not many are better. I like it. I always thought he would be manager, if not the Cardinals. I thought maybe of the Marlins, but I think he does get back in some kind of capacity with the Cardinals coaching staff, and I think eventually he will be a manager in the major leagues.
Candy.
I think kudos to him. I think he's going to be back there. That's all. I'm tongue tied, but no, I think it's good for him.
Clarky.
Yeah, I think the whole Molina family is just all baseball, right? From their dad
Right.
to the 3 boys to 3 catchers, by the way. Like, I can't imagine sitting these guys' dinner table about what we're talking about. Like, man, it'd be a clinic for guys like Mickey and I just talking to these guys about what they've seen over the time as catchers. And we see like we're at about a little over 50% of former catchers or managers in major leagues. So you see this quite a bit, not uncommon, in field general, oftentimes, and doing the day-to-day job. It's a heavy lift to be a player as a catcher with all you have to manage. So, I think it makes perfect sense. And I think Puerto Rico will be formidable at the World Baseball Classic.
Yes, I've always thought that catchers make really good managers. Don't you think, Skip? Because they see the whole field and they have a good feel for the game. And hey, I was one, but I never made a manager. But all I did was write about this stuff. But catchers have an eye for the game. They really do.
Yeah, they
God,
really do. Absolutely. Like you said, they get to sit back and see all other 8 positions on the field
Right.
and what their responsibilities are. And they're the only ones that get to do that, right? Maybe the center fielder gets to see quite a few guys, but he's got the front row seat and learns the game the most for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it.
I would say the other big strong point is the hyper learning of a catcher. He gets the formidable learning from his manager. Like his manager and him are going to constantly be communicating. The hitting coaches are going to be communicating. The pitching coaches are going to communicate with what we're going to do with the other teams to line up. So no other player spends all the time with the majority of the staff like a catcher does. The rest of us get our position coach and maybe our hitting guy, and that's it, or our pitching coach, and that may be it, or your manager. And so for this, that the catcher gets access to all that wisdom of all the staff and all they've been trained up in. And so it's formidable how much they know more. And by the way, they're always charged with keep your own skills at that level, because if you can't, you'll be replaced also. So it's a lot, catchers are an 18-hour day.
Well, let me tell you this about catchers, okay? Knowing I played it, we enjoy talking to the umpires and manipulating these guys. They protected us. We protected them. I don't know how many of us got thrown out because we got called out on strikes. So we had to deal with these guys all the time. So, we have a unique relationship with the umpires. We really do. But, yeah, no, I think it's great that he is going to be doing this for Puerto Rico. And to add Edgar Martinez, Juan Gonzalez is pretty intriguing in its own right. Candy, did I call on you on this?
You did.
All right, who have I called on? Everybody?
Yeah.
All right, so let's stay with the umpire theme, and then we're going to go to a congratulations. And we're talking about the debut of Jen Paywell, the first woman umpire ever. She actually missed 14 calls yesterday, which is the second worst of umpires yesterday, according to per the umpire auditor. Overall, though, what are your thoughts, Clarky, about Jen Powell making her debut?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, for me, I'm a meritocracy guy. Like, so whoever is the best at their job should get their job. I don't care if you're green, purple, yellow, male, female, don't really care. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I want the best of the best. You go out and you earn it, you earn the role, and you'll get the role. So I love it. If she's earned it, so be it.
All right, Candy.
I agree. I mean, I kind of hate the times when we have to do reverse discrimination, or we're talking about discrimination because we're doing the best person for the job should get the job. Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're woman, whether you're male. I mean, you shouldn't segregate out and say they shouldn't be able to be there. If they're good at the job, and granted, obviously her results weren't that great yesterday, but a lot of pressure, first woman up there, but doing it, proud to see, just surprised it took so long. But I guess, like I said before, Major League Baseball is the good old boys league. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but I think there's some truth to that. Well, let's face it, they've been talking about robot umpires, and you just first got a female umpire in there. Like, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you ask me. But
Well, I did ask you. That is pretty funny, though. All right, Skip, you get to follow that, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of those points. I love that she handled the pressure. I can't even imagine how much pressure she had on her going into that game. And being behind the plate calling balls or strikes is probably the second hardest thing to do on a baseball field besides hitting. It is very difficult to track those pitches coming at 100 miles per hour and, really anticipate and make a call at the right time. So she held her own. She did a great job. She was within the normal range of what all of the, long-term Major League Baseball umpires are doing throughout the course of a game. So very impressive by her, and I look forward to seeing more of her out on the baseball field.
So let me put you in a hypothetical, okay? You don't get a strike call the way you want. Are you being nice to her? Or are you going to throw the hat? You're going to kick the dirt? Or how animated are you going to get with a woman out there?
I think that you won't even take that into account, right?
Really? Okay.
When all of these umpires, the really good ones, the ones that aren't,
Okay.
the nicest guys, and even the ones you love the most, when the game's on the line and they make a bad call, I mean, you're screaming and yelling at them, right? And
Right.
you're going to get thrown out at some point. So I don't think she's going to get any favorable treatment at all. I think that's fair. And like I said, this is life and death to everybody on that baseball field. So when you get flared up, it doesn't matter who it is, the nicest guy, the worst guy, the best woman, you're gonna get flared up, and you're gonna lose your cool from time to time and protect your players when you need to, and that's part of the baseball game.
I like that comment, and I'll tell you why I like that comment, because you fall into a journalism category called being objective. You're being objective. That was one of your better comebacks, Mr. Callaway. I love it. That was good. That's called being objective 101. That's what they teach in journalism school. That's what I'm trying to teach you here. Objective. Good answer, Mr. Callaway. Really, really good.
Thank you.
All right, Cassie. I like what you said there.
I mean, good for her. Obviously, baseball was kind of lagged behind other sports leagues in terms of diversity and being on the forefront of conclusion. Baseball used to be really good at that, but now they've kind of lagged, for the past while now. I mean, as far as her job goes, I mean, let's be honest, she knows what she's getting into. I mean, she's been doing it at the minor league level. I'm sure she's chucked out a manager or two here and there. But let's be honest, when it's your job on the line here and your job is to win ball games, you're not thinking about whether it's male or female. You're thinking about your job, and whether it's a bad call or a crucial call at any point in the ball game, early or late, because that can ultimately swing the momentum of a game. Ultimately, she's going to be treated like all the umpires. Some managers are going to love her, other managers are going to hate her. Unless she somehow finds a way into her own category, like Angel Hernandez, where you're universally loathed. But she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's getting into. I mean, yeah, she missed some calls, but come on, it's only one game. You can't really determine how an umpire is just based on like one game, because she just got called up. So you got to determine that over the life of a season, or actually it's probably going to take her longer because she hasn't been up very long. So, don't use the first game. Obviously, it's the moment, the news, the media was all over it, and I think once she settles into it, I think it'll work out.
Rob,
I agree. I love it. And I want the best. I don't care if they're male, female. I don't care what they are. I want the best. And a lot of the umpires now, they interject themselves in the game. It's not about them. It's about the game. So I want the best, and she knows what she's getting into. And no one, when she blows a call and it hurts your team, they're not going to look and say, let me be nicer because she's female. They're going to go nuts on her just like they will with a male.
All right, here's what you have. Jen, welcome to the big leagues. If you're doing the big league thing next year, here's what you've got. Welcome to ABS, Jen. They get to do it for you. And then you get challenged. So enjoy the human element while you've got it, Jen, because robot umpires are like Santa Claus. Robot umpires are coming to town. And am I singing? No, I'm not American Idol. I'm Eddie Kimball. So enjoy the old natural element, Jen. Glad you made it. And go ahead, Skip.
Scott, I'd like to add something to this.
Please, do it.
Not necessarily about women, men umpires, but let me say this, and I think this is pretty accurate to a huge degree.
Okay.
There's no manager out there that wants to yell at an umpire, that does it out of spite because they don't like the guy. It's not even about the calls that were missed. It is solely about protecting the player
Right.
that was up to bat or pitching when those calls were made. And if you can't go out there and fight for your players, you're going to lose your respect. So most of the time, 99% of the time, a manager's getting tossed out for Jacob deGrom, for Trevor Bauer, for whomever is out there, getting the raw end of the deal when some calls are made. So it's really more about protecting players in the media, protecting players on the field. That's why managers get upset, and that's why they lose their cool. Otherwise, we teach the guys, hey, don't worry about bad calls. It's not what you can control, right? That's what we're saying 98% of the time. But when we see a guy getting frustrated at the plate, or we see a guy getting frustrated on the mound, a lot of times we're trying to run out there and get tossed before they do, and it hurts the team. The team can perform without the manager in the dugout. It's hard to do when your starting pitcher gets kicked out of the game because they're making bad calls. So it's really more about protecting players than it is anything.
Well, that's why we have you on the show, because you're the one who's going to give us those perspectives. So I'm going to ask you another question now that you brought this topic up. Are you going to sit there and tell me that about Billy Martin and Earl Weaver?
Those are the 1% exceptions that I was
exactly. That's why I was asking you.
Those guys just had fun doing it.
Scott, you stole it.
Well, hold it. Let me finish. This guy's here. He's 100% right. I met Billy Martin before, and actually, he was nice to me. Of course, he was sober, and of course, he always sort of having in common when he got killed. I busted my ankle on Magic Mountain on Christmas Day once upon a time. So that's where Billy and I go. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that about Billy Martin and Earl Weaver, who's going to go after you, then that's where your 1% is. But otherwise, I see your point, but you left me wide open for that. You know it. And why do you think we have a show coming up? And guess what about your show? Katsy's going to be on it with us. Right, Katsy? Go ahead, Katsy.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, you're forgetting one. First off, you stole my thunder, because I was thinking about Earl Weaver and Billy Martin, who I think they actually enjoyed yelling at the umpires, which, but I was going to mention before that, though, Leo DeRocha, I'm 100% sure that he enjoyed going out there and yelling at umpires, knowing how Leo was.
Yeah, that's fine. Leo DeRocher too. But I knew I was going to get you, Skip. I knew it. I knew it.
I love it.
But you're 100% right. They're going to protect the pitcher all day long. But those guys didn't care about protection. They're just looking to go at it, man. And that's what I'm saying. When you think of Billy Martin and Earl Weaver, and now you got the challenge system where everybody's nice to the umpire because you get the challenge 1 or 2 times, and now you got the robots coming to town. Everybody ruined my thought. Everybody, here's the thing. Santa Claus is coming to town. And now my other thing is robot umpires are coming to town. All right, that's the end of my singing. I don't want people to go deaf over the show. We still have more topics to get to here on 186 Baseball Talk. Scott Morgan Ross, pleased to be joined by Trent Clark, Candy Ebling, Rob Morosco, Eric Katz, and my manager, Mickey Callaway, as we continue.
Let's face it, Scott, if anybody wants to hear your singing, they can go to our YouTube channel. You have a song on there, Make Some Music, Chopsticks on a Short, so go check it out.
Called Make Your Own Kind of Music. Don't worry, Rob knows it. One of these days we'll play it on here. All right, everybody get a piece of the action on this one?
Yep.
Okay, with that said, before we go to our first station break, I'm going to do something here that Skip really likes to do, and that's come up with a stat out of nowhere. He loves these. That's a part of the show we get to do it. So we're going to do it. On July 2nd, people, of 1933. I love the 33, by the way. That's my lucky number. Carl Hubbell tosses 18 shutout innings. 18. I knew that was going to get you, Skip. Leading the New York Giants to 1-0 win over the Cardinals. 12 Ks, no walks, outdueled Cardinals hurler Tex Carlton, who, by the way, pitched 16 innings of his own. My goodness, Skip, how do you like that pitching number?
I just don't understand how you can have a 1-0 game with two pitchers that are throwing 18 and 16 innings. I mean, in the fifth or sixth at bat, we couldn't do any better in the lineup than that. And, to throw, I mean, how many pitches did they throw? He had to have thrown 255 pitches or so, to get through 18 innings. It's just amazing to me what those guys were able to do back in the day. And it makes you wonder, what are we doing wrong that we can only throw 90 pitches or 85 pitches now as a starting staff?
It makes you wonder if I'm only going by the numbers I have, and those are the ones I have. But I agree with you. What are we doing right, wrong with all these Tommy Johns? You and I will dive deeper on that, by the way, when baseball talk. Talking baseball with Scott Morganroth and Mickey Callaway gets launched really soon. So that's one of the things that we're going to be keeping as we get ready to roll. So, all right, Catsy, give me your brief thoughts about this wild off the wall number.
Well, these days, I mean, if you want to give an owner or a front office executive a heart attack in the box, you'll do that. But you're not going to see it now because front offices and owners are fearing Tommy John surgery, and they think that taking these guys out at 90 or 100 pitches is going to prevent that from happening. When in theory, it won't. It's just a part of the game. But man, it's impressive though. If you go that long without giving up a run, and keep in mind too, pitching staffs were they were a lot more smaller back then. It's not like you could go to a reliever to shut it down at some point in the middle of the ball game. But it's obvious the amount of pitchers they saw like in a month, they saw within a year. A lot of these guys, not in today's game, probably see that within a week or two. But, it's just a different game. They just had the rosters weren't nearly as big as, they are now.
Rob?
Well, what his specialty pitch was, the screwball. So that was his specialty pitch. But that's of course that's never going to happen again. Owners want to protect their investments. They weren't paying hundreds of millions of dollars back then to these players, okay? These players were just workhorses, cattle, and that's what happened. But I have to give the Giants credit. They took care of him for the rest of his life. Even when they moved to San Francisco, they took care of him. So he didn't have to worry about a job.
Well, that's really good. Nice to hear that. Candy?
Kind of crazy. Hubbard came into his start against the Cardinals with a 10-5 record and a 2.08 ERA. He was facing tough St. Louis lineup that included 5 hitters who finished with a 298 batting average or better. It was one of the pitchers, and I think it was the other pitcher, was coming off a complete game on 2 days rest. So that is just crazy how and Hubbard retired the first 12 men he faced in that game. So crazy to think what we used to let happen or what happened, and then now how the game has changed so much. Like you would never see a pitcher go that long nowadays. Never. But kudos to them. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, in the 18th, Hubbard surrendered a 2-out double to Collins before getting out of the inning, with Medrick. Just crazy. Crazy.
It is crazy. What do you think, Clark?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the Iron Men, right? Like this was that's the other thing about a 1-0 game, like 18 and 16 innings. This game might have only been about 3.5 hours. Like everyone else getting hit. So the thing's going pretty quick if they're pounding strikes and the screwball guys throwing it on everybody's hand. So you're getting infield ground balls and pop ups. So this could have been a pretty quick game for that long. But obviously, to Mickey's point, probably 200 plus pitches in a game, and this guy threw a complete game. The loser threw a complete game 2 days before, and then he comes out and throws 16 innings. It's crazy. I can't imagine what these guys did after this game to get their arms back in shape. But I'll just probably leave that one to who knows, Anheuser-Busch, but it's a pretty awesome story of a great game, like a 1-0 game. That had to be a great game to be a part of and be a fan.
The only thing I'm going to say, go ahead, Rob.
No, it
No,
was
I didn't
me.
say it.
Oh,
I just wanted to add, in his 18 innings of work, there were no runs, 6 hits, no walks, and 12 strikeouts.
I
Can
see.
you-
Incredible control.
See, so
Incredible.
you know how I'm going to close out the topic. You know the best part about being the host and the executive producer on this whole thing? I get to find this stuff because my goal is to educate and inform and entertain. And every time I pull one of these out of my pocket, I accomplish every one of them.
Yes, you do.
I
That's
love these
awesome.
topics. I love going back to the old days and pulling this stuff out, especially when I realize how off the wall and crazy this stuff is today. That's why this is so great. Oh, don't worry, I got plenty more. This is just the one I wanted to choose for this week.
I just would have been pissed if Carl would have lost. That's all though. You throw 18 innings of shutout innings and you lose. Obviously later in the game it wouldn't have been his loss, but take him out there or take him out and take a loss later in that game, like that would have been awful. So at least he was rewarded for the win and shirked the day for Ted Carlton to do 16. I mean that's crap. Like what's up with the Cardinals? They got to get that crap together. You can't throw 16 innings and not score a run. Come on, it's terrible.
And for the time, Joe Medwick was actually one of the better hitters in the league at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That was the guy people watched at that point in time.
Yep.
All right, couple things I want to get to. Station break just about on the way. Billionaire Justin Ishbia set to take control. He's taking the White Sox. No transition will take place until 2029. Skip, what are your thoughts about Justin Ishbia, the brother of Matt, who owns the Phoenix Suns, taking ownership of the Sox?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, fresh ownership, right? See what direction they're going to go. They obviously need to do something to reinvigorate Chicago there. I think the Sox are it's been a tough road for them the last 10 years or so. So anytime you can reinvigorate, a program and try to get new ownership and new leadership and try to get a better product on the field. Let's just hope that this owner is for the fans, is going to spend some of his hard-earned money to put a great product on the field for the fans, because that's what they deserve.
Eric?
I knew that he had increased his minority share, and he owns actually a little bit more than what Jerry Reinsdorf owns now. But he's coming into a situation there where the White Sox are rebuilding. I mean, they got some pieces there. I mean, Colson Montgomery is looking like a stud out there. I know Shane Smith was in the All-Star game this year, and they have. Obviously, Davis Martin could be a back end piece too, and but we'll see how it goes. I think that there are some pieces there. There's some, particularly pitching right now, and Colson Montgomery and other people. But it's going to be interesting though. So we'll see if he spends some money, because they are in a big market. They when they're winning, there is a fan base there, But ultimately though, he's going to have to do something though, because he's competing with the Cubs, because no matter how bad the Cubs are or how good the Sox are, it's always going to be a Cub city.
Okay, fair enough. Rob?
Yeah, it is a Cub city, definitely. But this is good for the Sox, as long as he spends some money, like Mickey said, because what happened in Baltimore? They got the new owner, he was supposed to have deep pockets, and so far he really hasn't done much except, trade away a lot of guys. They were sellers. So I think it's a good thing for the Sox in Chicago. They have to do something. The Cubs just rule Chicago.
They always will.
Oh, the poor White Sox. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Kudos. No, I mean, for Chicago to be able to compete and the White Sox to compete, they obviously need something, a spark. They need something. And sometimes it starts with ownership, and that might be just the spark they need to keep the rest going. They're in the American League, so, they have been not good for a while. So hopefully this majority going to majority ownership will help them.
Clarky.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of South Side support. They like their White Sox, but everybody loves a winner too. And you're going to have to win for the Southsiders to support it. It's harder in dollars, and it's hard to go to a game. He's going to have to do some things that make it fun and affordable, and get the kids and the families back. And winning does that, right? So these guys are winners. They poured a lot of money into Michigan State to make them winners. They've done a lot in Detroit. They've done a lot in for Detroit real estate and building that town, turning that around, and they've done a lot. I can tell you, Guaranteed Rate Field might be in jeopardy because I'm sure there are mortgage companies going on there. So I don't know, that lead sponsorship might be at jeopardy for them, but it's going to be interesting to watch, and if the money poured into Phoenix Suns is any indication, I'm bullish for the Sox future. I think it's going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, Reinsdorf, I think, had a decent run for as long as he owned it, but it was definitely time to make an ownership change for sure. So I want to send a congratulations to Florida Atlantic baseball coach John McCormack when he becomes an ABCA, which stands for American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Famer in January of 2026. Because I'm going to tell you something. John McCormack has done an outstanding job at Florida Atlantic University, and I'm good friends with his predecessor, who I work with, Kevin Cooney. So hats off to Coach Mack, and hopefully I'll see him again next year. As one of the things I'll probably be doing in 2026 is, in addition to some major league coverage, I'm looking for, Candy and I are probably going to dive into some college baseball coverage again next year, and FAU could be a stop. But so I just want to put this out there. And Skip, I'll have you, anybody else that want to chime in. But once again, congratulations to Florida Atlantic baseball coach John McCormack when he becomes a American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Famer in January of 26. So, Skip, some thoughts about. Go ahead, Candy.
I just want to say kudos to him, because to coach that long and do it as well as he has at FAU, which is a college that isn't well known for baseball. Let's face it, has a smaller stadium. It's not a big stadium, but to do it for as long as he has like that, kudos to him. And that's all I'm gonna.
Well, that stadium needs a lot of work. I've always been a proponent. They need to get a new stadium. They know it, but I know that they'll tend to do is use a Palm Beach Stadium if they really want to get a big opponent over there, as they did many years ago with Florida Gators. So. But I don't want to take away from what Coach McCormack has done, or Kevin Cooney prior to that. But I'm glad he's getting his recognition. And FAU, the most winning sport in their history, happens to be baseball, by the way. Football's a new kid on the block, and basketball.
Yep.
Right. But even though basketball got to the Final Four, the consistency on the diamond for FAU baseball is really what stands out. Skip, some thoughts about Coach Mack.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, right? Anytime a guy is there and being a leader of young men and sending young men off into the world, obviously he's had a great impact on them. I think playing college athletics when you go to get in the workforce when you're a young man is a very essential thing to learn teamwork and things like that. So for him to lead young men, I think everybody deserves accolades for that, and to have an impact on all those young men that he's coached over the years. I think any college coach or coach anywhere, little league coach, whatever, they deserve all the props they can possibly get. So I'm loving it.
Yeah. Coach McCormack, great job. His wife, Katrina McCormack, does an outstanding job as the director. She's in charge of communications, vice assistant athletic director, whatever you want. Go ahead, Candy.
I just want to add, he completed his 17th year atop Florida Atlantic University's baseball as head coach in 2025 and his 35th season with the program. He had previously served 11 years as associate head coach and 7 years as an assistant coach, beginning back in 1991.
There you go. Anybody else on the panel want anything about Coach Mack? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. I mean, to be able to do it for so long, I mean, everybody knows, man, that kids change. They are not the same as what they once were. They're all different. They all have different interests and things like that. And the fact that he was still able to, recruit them and kind of which I think recruiting ultimately comes down to relating to them. The fact he was able to do that, because I think that's a big problem we have, not just in sports, but I think in the workplace as well, is that manager, that coach kind of relating to his employees. I think that the fact that he was able to do it for so long and able to win for so long, it's a testament to him that he was willing to change, because I don't think enough people of that age are willing to change.
Anybody else?
You know what? Congratulations. His record was 577 and 372 losses and 2 ties. There are no ties in baseball, right? But that is a great record, and for that long a time, congratulations, kudos.
Okay, we're going to go to a station break. When we come back, are the Marlins contenders or pretenders? We're going to lead off with that. We'll talk about the Mets and the Yankees and a whole lot more after this station break. Candy, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. I'm having problems with my mouse. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. You can also find a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find a plethora of other content. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. Please do so. Click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family, and also turn on the notifications so you get notified whenever we put up any new content, any going live on shows or any new content from our trip. You just never know what you're going to see. Like I said, Scott's got a singing video out there. You got to go check YouTube to find it. And if you want to sponsor a show or advertise, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, thanks, Candy. Well, obviously, our title tonight is Are the Marlins Contenders Pretenders? A week ago, we were singing their praises when they swept the New York Yankees and made it to the 500 mark. They're 55 up, 55 down. Well, this week, not singing them at this particular point because I'm going to write a story on this for the South Florida Tribune, but I wanted to see what happened after the Yankee series. So I'm going to give everybody a basic overview of what we're going to talk about here. Number one, after the Yankee hangover, they took on the Houston Astros on August 4th. We're going to talk about attendance too, okay? They drew 10,827 and an 8-2 loss to the Astros. August 5th, 12,186 showed up at Lone Depot Park, 7-3 loss. They did manage to win on August 6th, 10,073 showed up with a 6-4 win. All right, so at that point, after the Houston series, I still thought they were contenders, okay? I didn't have a problem. Houston's a heck of a team. But I'm going to go back to earlier in the season. This isn't going to help a lot of people out. And then we're going to have a timeline of events. And then I'll let everybody chime in. Let's go back to the Colorado series back on June 2nd. And then only 5,894 people showed up in a 6-4 loss. The Rockies earned their 10th win of the year. Oh, goodness, right? But if that didn't get any worse, folks, June 3rd, 7,583 showed up in a 3-2 loss. Oh, my goodness, how bad does that get? It gets worse. June 4th, 6,261, 3-2 loss. What are they talking about? And this is a stadium, by the way, that holds 37,442. It got bad. How bad did it get during that Colorado season? The Marlins lost money staffing the ballpark for those that attended the Rockies series. That was bad. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the trade deadline moves. They did not trade Sandy Alcantara at the deadline. They did trade Jesus Sanchez for 3 minor leaguers, and I'll tell you, the way that roster changes, these guys are probably bound to make the club at some point or another. On July 13th, Kyle Stowers had a 3-home run game against the Orioles and did it by the 5th inning. Now I'm going to ask Skip the question, and we'll leave it to him. How does it feel if you're a player, okay, and that you go out there and you hit 3 home runs against your old team when they gave up on you?
Yeah, that's it's always tough as a player when the team, seems to, for lack of a better word, kind of move on from their interest in you or giving you opportunities in their organization, right? You just it hurts your ego a little bit, and it's a tough pill to swallow. So I can imagine, hitting 3 homers, and then, obviously you're showing some potential to blossom there as a player, and then all of a sudden you just don't have the opportunities anymore. So that's really tough. I think that although I've seen a lot of guys in that situation go on to bigger and better things and play better in a different situation. So, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, even though you're kind of upset at the time. So we'll see what happens and see how the kid's career pans out.
Well, let me tell you one thing. He did make it to the All-Star game. He did. And I'll tell you, he's the second Marlins left-handed hitter to hit over 25 home runs. He's doing pretty well. So let's go back to the Colorado series. You talked about 6,261. But the Marlins average this year in a 37,442 stadium is 11,649, which is the 3rd worst in Major League Baseball. 3rd worst in Major League Baseball. The A's, by the way, who are playing at Suter Health Park, are averaging 10,069. I don't know much about the facility. I'm not going to get into it, but at least you can say that it is a loud atmosphere, and we know it's temporary. The Rays, on the other hand, are playing at George Steinbrenner Field, attendance of 11, past the 11,206, and they bring in 9,872. Say what you want about these smaller ballparks and temporary facilities, but it's good when they're loud, even though they're a little bit smaller and intimate. Unfortunately for Miami, why am I bringing this stuff up? You just drew 101,000 for the Yankees, and that whole Houston series, you were probably lucky to get like 35, 40,000 for the whole thing, and the Astros are a heck of a team. If that doesn't get more interesting, now is where it gets even more interesting, and that's this. Let's summarize the Braves series. This is a series they should have won. I thought for sure if you win against the Braves, you're sitting very pretty. First game, Marlins lose 8-7. Josh Simpson takes a loss. He drops to 2-1. Friday, August 8th, the Marlins do get a win thanks to Edward Cabrera, a 66-5, 11 Ks. All right, so you're 1 up, 1 down series. I get it. Now the Saturday in which Jan Polal makes her debut, in game 1, the Marlins lose 7-1. Ryan Gusto got the loss. He turns to 7-5. Game 2, the Marlins lost that one. Sandy Alcantara now drops to 6-11. And then on Sunday, the Marlins lose 7-1. Tyler Phillips gets a loss. He drops to 1-1. The Braves win the series 4-1. I've given you a lot, okay? I did deliberately give you a ton of information. So to get one simple general answer out of everybody, and we'll start with Clarkie. Are the Marlins contenders or pretenders?
They're pretenders. And for all the reasons you just said, right? I mean, I'd love to see them be successful. The town's not ready for it. They have a gorgeous stadium that no one's coming to, unless visitors are coming. And that's kind of the market. It's hot. It's Miami. It's the middle of summer, and everybody leaves or they go to the coast. They've got other things to do. So the team is never going to be the focus until you win. In order to win, they're going to need horses and they're going to need money, and they're not spending that and they're not getting them. So they're going to remain in the pretender category for a while. And I think what they've done is really special. I think it's awesome. And to do what they've done and be hovering around that 500 mark is a really good tribute to the staff, the players that are there, the people that are actually doing the job. But if you're talking about the best teams in Major League Baseball and contending for a World Series championship, they're not going to do it.
Okay, Katie, you've seen them play a lot this year.
I've seen them play a lot, period. And are they contenders or pretenders? They're going to be pretenders because they don't spend the money. So, Clarky, you're right. Are they drawing attendance? No. Why? Partly because of where they placed it. It's in Little Havana. It's not a good neighborhood. So, if you're not fielding a really good team or playing a marquee game like a Yankees, you're not drawing. You're not going to the games because I can sit and watch it on TV and be safe instead of going down to Little Havana and watching it in person. Now, I've always liked baseball in person, don't get me wrong, but it's just the neighborhood. It's not I would never go to a Miami Marlins game by myself. Never, ever, ever. And that's a true tale right there. Because I would feel safe going to Detroit Tigers game. I would feel safe going to Milwaukee Brewers game. Depending on where they put the field, some areas are safe, some aren't. Where they put Miami, I'm sorry, it's not safe. I would not go by myself. Now, is the team on the field trying? Yes. But, every stretch of the imagination, they are trying. They're just not there yet, though. And there's a lot of pieces that they have missing. Sandy's not pitching like he used to, and they didn't trade him. And to be honest with you, you would have gotten more now than you're going to get because he's starting to age at this point. So, but yeah, we can all say about how much their payroll is, but there are other teams that have around the same payroll, lower payroll, and still are doing it. So it's just a matter of they're pretenders.
Okay, Skip.
Yeah, they're pretenders, right? There's just not an air about them when they come to play, the opposing team. The even if they just swept the Yankees or whatever, the other team is like, okay, well, they had a good series. This is baseball. That can happen to anybody. They're still the Marlins. That's what everybody on the field's thinking, right? When you're in your advance meetings and stuff like that, guys just make pitches. We're a better team than them. So you don't feel that threatened when they come into your ballpark or you're going there to play. So, teams like that, it's really tough to be 500, play 500 baseball at this point and step up and really make that run because you're not intimidating people. Now, if the Yankees or the Mets were at 500 right now, I would say, hey, maybe they're still contenders because they can go on a hot streak and they can get hot. And when they get hot, people get a little nervous, right? When you're going into there, like, oh man, the Mets are rolling right now. The Yankees are rolling right now. We got our hands full. When it's the Marlins or any of those other teams in that ilk, you're kind of like, well, they're still the Marlins, and you're kind of relaxed and you play a little bit better baseball against them.
Right. Catsy.
I mean, nah, they're not there. They're not there yet. They're about 6 out of the wild. They're about 6 out of the wild card at the moment, which that's probably their best hope to get in the postseason. But if they want to get up there, they got a lot of work to do because I believe there are several teams ahead of them that are just significantly better. That I don't see the Marlins being able to top. I think that I've said this about the Marlins for a very long time. Is the part of the reason is they don't draw is number one, their stadium's just in an awful neighborhood. I've just heard the most negative things about it and the things that you see on the news in that area. Number two, that fan base has been alienated for years, not just by Wayne Huizenga, but Jeffrey Loria and to an extent Bruce Sherman as well. They're plenty mad about it, and there are plenty of people too who didn't want that stadium built. It also didn't help. It also didn't help maybe years back that maybe people in the Cuban community did not forgive Ozzie Guillen for shooting his mouth off. So that also hurt you there. And the fact that they don't spend money doesn't help either. And they're on MLB, the Players Association's grievance list, where the front office and the owner and the front office there and Bruce Sherman could say what they want, saying, "Oh, we're putting the money in other areas," but it's definitely not. It definitely is not helping in the wins and the losses department these days. But they got some young guys, like the Kyle Stowers and Augustine Ramirez and other guys like that. They got some young guys though, but you got to do it consistently. And the Marlins, we've seen them just have a year here and there where they make it. Maybe it's a World Series win, but but they're not there yet, and they got a ways to go before they can start talking about champagne showers and postseason parades.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Pretenders, listen, they're better than I thought they were going to be this year. Okay, I have to give them that. They are better than I thought they were going to be. But as far as the stadium, location, location, location. Why did they build a beautiful park like that in Little Havana, where people are scared to go? Unless they win, people are not going. Of course, when the Yankees are there, they're going to draw over 100,000. That's anywhere the Yankees go. But who's gonna go watch Miami really in that stadium where it's located when they're not spending money, when they're not winning, even though, like I said, they're doing better than I thought they were, and they're in a tough division. Although right now with the way the Mets are playing and the Braves, you wouldn't know it, but they are in a tough division.
Okay. All right, Trent, I know I have to leave in a few minutes. Just an FYI, by the way, there were only 2 Marlins in franchise history hit double digits home runs in July. And by the way, Skip, one of them happens to be Kyle Stowers. The other one's in Carlos Stanton. I just put that one out there. Trent, will give you one more topic to bite on. Okay, you ready for that?
Yes.
And that's this. And here's what we've got. The New York Mets, since June 13th, the New York Mets are 18-29, third worst in MLB. The New York Yankees are 19-30, worst in AL since June 13th. Only the Nationals and the Rockies have records worse than the Mets and the Yankees. So, Trent, what are your thoughts about the state of the Mets and the Yankees? And everybody else will have a shot at this one, too.
Well, the city of New York might be in panic here. Like, this is not good. Like, I mean, these are two really well built teams. So it's staggering when you see that. The underperformance. It's not expected. I'm sure that in the end, I think they still have the merit. The trade deadline. They've done this. They've got the wherewithal to be contenders. So I don't think they're going away per se. And I think, Mickey alluded to it a minute. These teams get hot. They'll roll up 20, 25 of 30 games, and they can do that. So they're not out of it by any means, but it's staggering to see that. I mean, the Tigers are kind of following that tradition also. I mean, it's been a kind of a tale of 2 seasons for some of these teams.
Right.
And obviously there's a lot to that. But as a New York fan, and baseball is such a big center of the city and everything else with the 2 great teams. I mean, no one's really bullish about what's been going on since June. It's been a pretty lousy summer of baseball, and they want to get back to seeing good baseball. And by the way, New York loves fall classics, and it looks like the summer doldrums may keep them from it.
Okay, Trent, real quick, why don't you let everybody know if they get a hold of you for your book?
Yeah.
After he logs off, we're going to stay on the topic with everybody else.
Well, everybody, thanks for having me. Trent at leadershipity.com. You can reach me there. You can reach me on the website, trent-clark.com. My podcast, Winners Find a Way, and our new podcast, Winning Ways. I am the author of Leading Winning Teams. And, of course, you can reach me. I'm a growth guy. Help a lot of organizations grow. So you can reach out anytime. Always love talking baseball on 108 Stitches with this 2 live crew here. It's awesome. So thank you for having me as usual.
You're welcome. See you next Monday night, hopefully, unless something comes up. All righty. All right.
Yep.
With that,
Thanks, Trent.
All right. With that, now there are 5 of us. Candy, the topic. What are your thoughts about the way things are going in New York right now? I talked about the Yankees 19-30. The Mets are 18-29.
We've talked about how most Major League Baseball teams go through streaks where they're doing well, and then it's a long baseball season. And let's face it, what you want to do in baseball is you want to be hot in September and going into October. So it's not panic button yet, but it's getting close because let's face it, they have their record is a little bit behind some of the other ones, and their payroll is up there. So the pressure, and the other thing is the one thing I will say about the Yankees and the Mets, the pressure's on them because they have the payroll so high, because they're expected to do that also puts a little added pressure on them, and that makes it a little bit harder. I mean, I'm gonna put this out there, and I know there's gonna be a topic later, Scott. But the Milwaukee Brewers are doing really well. They don't have that same pressure. They're playing free and fun, and that makes a difference too. And I think the Yankees and the Mets need to get back to that, because I think right now they're just feeling the pressure of not winning, and the New York media is on them and stuff like that. So, but I don't think it's time to put the alarm bells up just yet.
All right, turn it over to Rob, a resident New Yorker.
All right, let's start with the Mets. The problem is the big hitters have not been hitting. Okay, the Mets go as Lindor goes. Okay, Lindor's hot, the Mets are hot. Nimmo's not hitting. Lindor's not hitting. Soto's not hitting. When Soto hits, he's been hitting a lot of solo home runs. All right, and Alonso. The problem is they are not getting hits with runners in scoring position. I keep talking about this. It's been going on all year. Even when they were winning in April and May, they were not scoring a lot of runs. And that's what the problem is with the Mets. So what happens at the trade deadline? They go out and do what they were supposed to do. All right. Stearns gets relief pitchers. He boosts the bullpen. We're like, okay, we got Rogers, we got Helsley, great. They also got Mullins from the Orioles, which I wanted. I was talking for the past 2 months. Let's get Mullins. He hit his first home run yesterday after the Mets. The Mets blew a 5-run lead yesterday. They got swept 2 series in a row. Okay, they haven't won since the day before I went on vacation. That's how long it's been. Okay, that's the problem with the Mets. The Mets should have gotten one more starting pitcher. I said that too. So they're not hitting with runners in scoring position. But if these guys get hot, Lindor gets hot, and it goes Nimmo gets hot, Soto and Alonso, then everything changes, and we don't remember this conversation. But it's not time to panic. But it's starting to get late. Middle of August, they got to start hitting. We remember last year, they started off bad. They got magical towards the end of the year. The postseason was great. And, hopefully they could put it together, the next week or so, because they have to. Listen, they got a series against the Braves now. The Braves aren't doing great, but we know what happens when the Mets play the Braves. Mickey knows what happens when the Mets play the Braves. Okay, it's at Citi Field, but where they were playing great, but they lost the series against the Guardians at Citi Field. So the Mets have to start hitting. Same thing with the Yankees. The Yankees pitching, their bullpen. Williams, I don't know what happened. I don't know if Alonso's home run in the postseason last year did something to Williams, but he's not the same closer as he was. So the Yankees, I think there's a little more panic. Chris, my co-host, he's already given up on it. We thought there might be a Subway Series. There might not be a Subway Series. The Yankees have to start hitting too, and they have to start pitching. That's it. That they both have to start hitting though.
Okay, Skip.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Candy and Rob said, right? They're not hitting. If you're not hitting, you're not going to win. I think the one thing I will say that the Mets have on their side is at some point, everybody's going to kind of progress to the mean, right? And start doing kind of what they should be doing. And it seems as though, and Rob, you can tell me if I'm wrong, you're probably paying more attention to it at this time than I am. But the good thing about Candy said it. Baseball is a game of streaks. You go up and down. And when you're losing, it's kind of advantageous to pitch bad and hit bad at the same time, right? If you're going to lose, you don't want to pitch good and lose because your hitting is bad. And then all of a sudden your hitters start pitching or hitting good, and then your pitchers start pitching bad, and you continue to lose. So you really want them to all play bad at once. So once you come out of it and they all start clicking like they should, now you can really go on a run. I think the Mets are kind of in that category, where it seems to me the Yankees might have a little bit of a different problem on their hands, right? You got to get some guys healthy and then see what happens. So right now, it's not panic time really, although any loss in New York is panic city the next day.
Yeah.
But it's really not time to panic. I think both teams are good, have good enough rosters to kind of climb out of this. And like Candy said, this is the most important part. You want to be clicking at the end of the season. That's the most important thing. New York is about winning championships. It's not about just getting into the postseason or having a winning season. It's about winning a World Series. If you don't win a World Series, it's a failure. And you're not going to win a World Series unless you're clicking at the right time.
And not only that, it depends on, you got the battle of which team overspent the most to get the least is really what you have. So
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'll even add one little light to it because we have a few more things I want to talk about, and that's this. Let me see what these numbers look like come August 31st, and then we'll see what they are then versus what they are now. I'll leave it at that. Do a few more topics to get to. I want Kat to get a word in on this.
Okay, so I'll start with the Yankees. I think part of it too is, yes, they've been injured. It doesn't help though that they haven't had Garrett Cole all year. I mean, you lose a pitcher like that at the top of your rotation. I mean, yeah, Max Fried has done a good job stepping in there, but he's no Garrett Cole because Garrett Cole has been the best at it, has been one of the best for a very long time. And you lose a pitcher like that, there's no recovering from that, and there's no replacing them. But the Yankees, I think, have done a good job making do with what they've had. It doesn't help that they lost Clark Schmidt for till next year as well. So losing two pitchers, you're going to have problems if you lose two regular top starters in your rotation. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's really hard to work around that. And their bullpen has kind of been a mess all year. I think Devin Williams, to me, is one of those guys that when he does great on a smaller team, like the Brewers, for example, but couldn't hack it in the big time. Like in Devin Williams' case, he's going from, you could probably call Milwaukee the country at this point and taking him to New York City, where it's just a stark difference between the two cities. That's just how they are. New York's a lot more faster paced. Milwaukee, you'll hear about it, but you're not going to be ridden about it day after day after day. I'm sure when Skip was driving to the ballpark when he was managing the Mets, he put WFAN on mute.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think the Yankees bullpen has been a mess. It hasn't helped that their trade deadline acquisitions aren't coming through. And I think tonight, though, hopefully is a good first step because they did beat the Twins tonight. So we'll see what happens with the Yankees because they definitely have some guys who have been there and done that before. Who I think, and they're also still holding on to a postseason spot. So if you're holding a postseason spot into September, you've got a chance. As far as the Mets go, man, I could have a field day on this one because they typically this happens in around August, September for them, but it's been happening a lot longer than I'm used to, which, given the amount of times it's happened in August and September, they probably have more hangman nooses in their trophy case than World Series trophies. But the Mets, they haven't really been hitting with runners on. I mean, sure, you get some individual, you get a run here, a run there. That's problem number one. You spent $765 million on Juan Soto to just be Juan Soso. I mean, come on. And then your rotation, it's not going deep into games. You got the bullpen, no doubt. I mean, Edwin Diaz with 100 miles an hour. I'm sure Rob and I know for a fact Mickey Callaway can attest to a guy who can throw BBs out right off the mound. Obviously Mick, when he was there, he wasn't quite Edwin Diaz, but still he had some stuff. And your starters aren't going deep, so that's taxing your pen. That I think not having a true ace hurts them. As well as because I think in today's game you need that true ace. I mean, Kodai Senga's good. Don't get me wrong, good, but he's not the same all-star caliber pitcher he was when he came in. Solid pitcher, but not a guy I'd want starting game one of a playoff series. I'd probably put him more toward the middle. And, and also I think, what it comes down to is, this is, it just comes down to the fact their pitchers aren't going deep and they're big boppers. They aren't hitting. Although what they have, the Mets have that the Yankees don't have is I think they have the better of the two lineups, on paper anyway, but their big boppers got to hit. And right now, it seems like Pete Alonso, from his hot start early in the year, has kind of crashed back down to earth and has gone back to being swing and a miss Pete. And Juan Soto hasn't quite come around. Nimbo is just, he's just mediocre. He's not worth the money that they're paying him, at least in my opinion. And Francisco Lindor, I mean, this is the doubts that people have had about him. And the doubters right now are kind of right, because this is where he kind of, I think, crumples up. It happened early in the year last year, and then he went on a hot streak. Now it's happening when the Mets need him most. But they got to figure something out in New York. Otherwise, you're going to be hanging another rope in that trophy case.
Okay, let me go over a couple things here, factual wise. We're going to go through rapid fire a little bit. Okay, number one, I have a couple topics I want to get to, including the Brewers. Nick Kurtz had a 395 average, 11 home runs, 27 RBI. And Kyle Stowers, 364, 10 home runs, 20 RBI, or July Players of the Month. There you go. And of course, Skip and I, the rest of us talked about it. Kyle Stowers had his 3 home run game against his old team with Baltimore. So Kurtz and Stowers are certainly getting their recognition. Both Players of the Month of July. Any problem with that for either of you? Just say yes or no. Any of you?
No.
No.
Oh, you agree with those choices?
Yeah.
Love
Very
it.
good.
They both had a
All
great
right.
run in this month.
All right, the Nationals return from the Juan Soto deal is making an impact in 2025. They ended up getting a return of C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, and James Wood were 3 of the players in the Juan Soto deal back in 2022. We'll update those numbers as time goes on. Anybody know, what are your thoughts about the preliminary nature of how all of this looks right now? Rob, you have any ideas of what you like with the Nationals?
Yeah, they got some good young ball players back for Soto. I like Wood. Who doesn't like Wood, really? I mean, come on. He has 77 RBIs. He has 112 hits. Gore's having a little trouble right now. His ERA is about 4.09, and he's 5-12. But he's playing on the Nats. And Abrams is batting 268. He has 26 stolen bases and scored 71 runs. So, they got back some good young players from that trade.
Anybody else have anything to add? Skip, you have anything else you want to add about it?
No, I'll just say this about, you trade guys that are premier players like Juan Soto. You better not mess the trade up, right? I mean, let's be honest. If you mess that trade up, then somebody needs to be fired in the front office. So, but it sounds like they got some good players. They probably were playing the long game a little bit. And, sometimes your key players or your premier players are your currency to go buy other players and improve your club. And it sounds like maybe they did it.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead,
actually,
Eric.
a fun fact about that trade is Eric Hosmer refused to go to Washington, and Washington ends up getting sent to Boston instead. And as consolation, they ended up getting I think it was Luke Voigt at the time. But San Diego knew what it was giving up in Gore, who was pitching fantastically while he was over there. I mean, in order to, if you want to trade a premier talent like Juan Soto, you better be right about it though. Otherwise, you're never going. No matter what you do in baseball, you are never going to live that down. It's obviously James Wood. Gosh, he's burst onto the scene this year. He was an all-star. C.J. Abrams kind of burst onto the scene last year and is looking like a stud. Shame on Washington though for not really being able to build around these guys, because they got some pieces there that any contender would want. Obviously Gore has not nearly been effective in the second half as he was in the first half, but I think kind of having to do it all himself in Washington has kind of caught up to him. But, gosh, they got some pieces there, man. It'd be a shame if they wasted, though, because those are pieces that any contender will want.
All right, we'll talk briefly about Justin Verlander. Then we go to the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, number one, the most active wins among active players is Mr. Verlander at 263, Max Scherzer at 217. Clayton Kershaw, last I looked, was 216. Garrett Cole, 153. Chris Sale, 143. Charlie Morton, newly of the Tigers, 143. Verlander recently ended a historic 16-game winless streak by pitching 5 scoreless innings for the Giants and a 9-3 win over the Atlanta Braves. The 42-year-old, at last I looked, was 1-8. He's playing on a 1-year contract at $15 million deal that he signed in January. And guess what? The other day, he just hit 3,500 strikeouts. So very quickly, Candy, what are your thoughts about Justin Verlander? Okay, He obviously is hanging in there. He's the last shot at 300.
Well, you just gave a whole bunch of stats. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher. Is he? Yes, he's on the decline of his career, but he's still got it, and people are still afraid of him, I think. So, kudos to him for hitting that 3,500. I know that he's only the 10th pitcher in history to do that, so that's a very rare feat. So, kudos to him for that.
Rob?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when the Mets signed him, he was starting to go downhill. We know that. He aged great. I mean, he was great all those years. And, the Mets made some good moves when they traded him and Scherzer a couple of years ago. They got some decent returns. And great pitcher, but he's up there in age, and pretty soon he's gonna have to retire.
So, Skip, do you think he makes it to 300 wins?
Yeah, I thought exactly what Rob said. I thought that at one point in time about 8 years ago, I think, right? It was like, oh, what happened to Verlander? I saw him like warming up out in the outfield, and the ball just wasn't coming out of his hand the same. But he comes back and he wins more Cy Youngs, I think, and it's just dominant for Houston. It was I'm just in awe, going, how does this guy do it? So I wouldn't count him out just yet. The guy still can run it up there 98, and I think he's going to play for 4 or 5 more years if he can. He seems to be still a beast. He's now healthy again. He's had the Tommy Johns, and I think you're going to see him get to that 300. At least he's going to die trying for sure.
Yeah. Great take. All right, Eric, you have the. Well, I'll just say this. I hope he gets to 300. I'm glad he made it 3,500 strikeouts. Eric, you have the last word, then we end the show on the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, I think obviously he's had a Hall of Fame career. I mean, his 2022 was just out of this world, where he has a .75 ERA in an era where we want to be favoring offense. But I don't think he does it. He's fallen apart now. He's really hit the back nine of his career. In my opinion, I think he's retired and he doesn't know it yet. But he's got to get 40 plus more wins. And right now he's pitching in a very pitcher friendly ballpark in San Francisco, and he's not getting it done there. So, the fact that it's not happening there, I don't think it happens. I mean, sure, he wants to play till he's 45, and I'm sure teams will still allow him to, because after all, he's just going to be a guy who puts butts in the seat, and more or less a show pony for a team. And, I think a team who needs good publicity will sign him. But he's on the back nine at this point. I don't think he gets it though, because given how it's going in San Francisco, he's retired and he doesn't know it yet.
Well, like I said, I hope he gets to 300, at least make 3,500 strikeouts. Just the Detroit Tigers did get a series win yesterday against the Angels. Prior to that, they lost 6 of 7 recently, and now they're 121 of their first 30 series. They're in a 2-1 weather delay in Chicago right now. Tigers are leading in Chicago. We'll see how that plays out. Final topic of the night: Milwaukee Brewers are hot. 9-game winning streak. They face the Pirates tonight. I don't know what the score is of that one.
10-game winning streak.
Okay, well, go ahead, Candy. Since you opened your mouth first, you can talk about it first.
They won 7-1. They won 7-1 today. What I'm going to say is they're having so much fun. And I think that really is a testament to Pat Murphy. I think it's a testament to playing as a team. And if you I've read a lot of things about the team and about how they just love playing as a team. Even the guys that came in after the trade deadline, they welcomed them. They're young and they're exciting to watch. I mean, they won 10 in a row. They're best in baseball right now. It's not even close. If we look at their division, they're 6 games above the Cubs, and that's their next closest. They're having a great season, and it's really great to see because they're from a small market. And yes, they're my team. I get it, but they're from a small market, and they don't have the payroll that the Yankees do, and that the other teams do. and yet they've been consistently in the playoffs the last how many years? I love to see it.
Well, they spend their money wisely in that market, and they draw a lot of people. All right, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Candy. I picked the Brewers to win their division this year. They're an excellent team. They do look like they're having fun. Listen, they swept the Mets this week, right? It was it was a joke. So yes, it definitely was. But listen, I still think that they're going to win that division, and they're an excellent team. I like them.
Well, here, we'll let Skip go because I have a feeling Eric's going to have a few words.
Yeah, I think that they obviously make great baseball decisions there. And one of their better decisions was to hire Pat Murphy once Craig Counsell left, right? They didn't bring in new people creating a different atmosphere. They kept the bench coach, moved him into the manager's spot so that unbelievable team chemistry they had would still be there. You didn't want to bring in another dynamic and not know what you're going to get. So moving Pat Murphy, who's an amazing manager, amazing coach, and kind of that was under Craig Counsell, was another genius move by an organization that makes great moves with the money they have. I mean, they got a first-time manager that they knew was going to have some success because he came under the guy that was having success when he was there. So they're saving money. It's crazy. It's just whatever moves they make, they work out. It's just what a great place to be. Like Candy said, there's not a lot of pressure there. So you can just keep rolling. You roll into New York or whatever, sweep a team, go back. And it's everybody's having a great time over there and loving the atmosphere. And that leads to winning a lot of the time.
Let me just say this before I turn over to Eric. Number one, Pat Murphy has passed science to Florida Atlantic University, and yes, it was indeed a seamless transition. So very good. Yeah, I wish him well. He's done a heck of a job over there. Everybody thought when Counsell left that the Brewers were in trouble. No, there was seamless transition. A lot of the coaches stayed on board. Counsell had to get his own coaches. That speaks volumes. All right, Eric, you got about 3 minutes to say what you got to say, and then we'll be able to go ahead and wrap up the show. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, it's been fun. I mean, everywhere you go, people are wearing Brewer stuff, talking about the game, including when you walk into a bar and the room's filled with smoke and you hear people talking about it. It's been fun to watch. They're the only team in baseball to have multiple winning streaks of like 8 or 9 or more. They're doing it with players that you didn't really hear about going into the season. Obviously, keeping Pat Murphy there was huge because not only is he a great manager, though, the guy's kind of quirky, it's actually kind of funny, actually. It's just one of those teams that just, it's fun to watch. They are just one of those teams where regardless of what happens, you'll remember them because they were a fun team to watch. And the fact that they go in there and come from behind 3 different times against the Mets, including Blake Perkins throwing a frozen rope from center field to William Contreras to tag out, I think it was Starling Marte to win. Then Isaac Collins walk-off home run yesterday. Man, they're also showing that it's just never over for them, no matter what the score is. The amount of come-from-behind wins they've had this year, it's just never over for them, and that's what makes them so fun to watch.
There you have it. Brewers on a roll, winning 10 in a row and counting, and they get the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I have a feeling that streak could continue at least for another game or two. So meanwhile, that does it for this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Skip, did we cover a lot of ground like I told you we would tonight?
We certainly did. It was great. Way to go, Scott. That was a great show, buddy.
Thanks. Well, we're not done yet. Just so you know, our debut, I think you're still on for this Saturday. Is that correct, Skip?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, just so you know, our debut show will be talking baseball with Scott Morganroth and Mickey Callaway. It'll be his new show, and then we'll be doing another one after we get our audio providers intact. Looking forward to doing the show. Eric will be on probably later in the month of August, and we'll be able to get going. And with the 4th spot will be an open spot for anybody that wants to join us every Saturday morning. So we're going to leave that 4th spot as a rotating spot. So with that said, Candy, Rob, why don't you let everybody quickly know how they get a hold of you?
Yeah, NYMLB Talk. We're everywhere. YouTube, X, Facebook. Just look up NYMLB Talk and subscribe if you want to hear Mets, Yankees, and all MLB, plus all kinds of different special guests.
Great stuff. Eric, real quickly, let everybody know they get hold of you.
You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, or check out my blog at bellyupsports.com. And if you think I don't like your team, yes, I probably do not like your team.
Well, he's got that. He's a trademark. I enjoy hearing that. Don't worry, Skip. You'll be doing that on your show too. All right, go ahead, Skip. Talk about the lessons, and obviously we have a new project we're undertaking. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about our podcast that we're going to launch. So I hope everybody will tune into that. I think that I'm very, very excited to get this opportunity. I want to thank Scott for that. And hey, if anybody wants to fly in and take some pitching lessons here in the Memphis area, come on in. You can find me on Facebook or whatever, and I'll set it up. And would love to teach some new kids some lessons.
Very good. All right, Candy, take us home.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It talks about his 40-plus years in the industry. It's got a picture of young Tommy Lasorda with young Scott. So go get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of other great content, so go check it out. If you see that red subscribe button, click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you get notified every time we put up a good show. Or, you never know, one of our travel videos. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, thanks. Well, what a great show we had. A lot of information tonight. I enjoy packing the show with a lot of information. My primary responsibility is to make sure we entertain, educate, and inform. And that's exactly what our goal here is to do, make sure everybody can expand their reach as well. So on behalf of Trent Clark, Candy Ebling, Rob, Eric, and the skipper, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We will see you next Monday night. Skip and I will see you on Saturday. Right, Skip?
That's right.
YouTube.
Let's do it.
Saturday's show will be featured on YouTube as well, and we'll be putting up, I believe, Candy on Facebook as well. You can probably find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well. That's where we'll have that first show, and from there on, we expect that show to grow a little bit more. So once again, that does it from us. We'll see you next week on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Thank you very much for joining us. Rob, great first act on this show, my friend.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.